tonight we're gonna make love. You know how I know? Because it's Wednesday. And Wednesday night is the night that we usually make love. Monday night is my night to cook. Tuesday night we go and visit your mother. But Wednesday we make sweet weekly love. It's when everything is just right. There's nothing good on TV. You haven't had your after-work social sports team practice, so you're not too tired. Oh, it's all on. You lean in and whisper something sexy in my ear like, I might go to bed now, I've got work in the morning. I know what you're trying to say, girl. You're trying to say, oh yeah, it's business time. It's business time. It's business. It's business time. I know what you're trying to say. You're trying to say it's time for business. It's business time. Ooh, it's business. It's business time. Oh, yeah. Then went in the bathroom, brushing our teeth. That's all part of the foreplay. I love foreplay. A shaka shaka, a shaka shaka, a shaka shaka. Ow, ow, ow. And you sort out the recycling. That isn't part of the foreplay process, but it is still very important. Next thing you know, we're in the bedroom. You're wearing that baggy old ugly t-shirt you got from your work several years ago. You know the one, baby, with the color stain. I removed my clothes very, very clumsily, tripping sensuously over my pants. Now I'm naked, except for my socks, and you know when I'm down to just my socks, what time it is. It's business. It's business time. You know when I'm down to my socks, it's time for business. That's why they call business socks. Ooh. It's business. It's business time. Yeah. Make a love for. Make a love for two. Make a love for 2 minutes. When it's with me, girl, you only need 2 minutes. Because I'm so intense. You whisper something sexy.
Good
like,
morning, everybody, and welcome to Wednesday of the Uninformed Fan. Jeffrey is back on home soil. Week 1 of NFL is behind us. Presidential debates, people getting arrested before the games. What a wild week. Good to have you back, Jeffrey. How was your trip, my friend?
It's good to be back with Central AC, I will tell you that. It was really hot in Copenhagen. It was like 80 degrees, and they don't have Central AC because everything's created for warmth. So, you know, you got to leave doors open, windows open. You're on the water. There's critters and bugs everywhere. It's a different situation. But
do they have screens in the windows at least?
Nope.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and
old world living, huh?
Yeah. And, you know, we're jumping in, 50-degree, water. They have like their canals that run off the North Sea, and basically everybody jumps in to kind of do a cold plunge every single day. So we were doing that, which is pretty cool. But just,
I've been doing that, by the way.
Cold plunge?
I do that every day. I sit in there for anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes.
It's really cold when you first get in, and then you finally adjust to it and get fine, and it's okay. But the first
about 30, 40 seconons
initial shock it's something.
It is something.
It was cool. That was a cool experience, cool thing to do. Copenhagen was beautiful. Had some amazing food, amazing snacks. But just kind of laid low, spent some really good time, some good quality family time with my nieces and Amanda's cousins, and that was about it. So.
I was actually going to ask you. I was wondering I thought you went there by yourself, and then I saw the pictures.
Nah.
And I was like, well, did Jeff kidnap a child over there? Like, did he just adopt one for the trip? What just happened over here?
No.
I don't think he has girls.
No, that's my wife's closest cousins. That's their 2 daughters. So amazing little girls. They made me their best friend. There's a lot of pictures of me, doing tea time or, with a bottle or with a passy in my mouth, that I was playing with them. So, whatever, man. you get to that age, whatever makes the kids happy. You know what I mean?
Tea time in London was pretty interesting, I thought. We did we did the tea time across from the palace. I can't remember what the name of it was, but bro, like they bring out these towers of sandwiches, towers of these pastries, and I'm like, how are they not all 500 pounds over here? Yeah. But then you go to look at it, the ingredients are good ingredients and stuff that you don't get here and blah blah blah.
Yeah, you get some macaroons. We had some champagne. I didn't realize, so we did our hotel, Sandor Men's. Shout out to Sandor Men's, by the way. If you're looking for a place to stay in London, I cannot recommend it more. You're a couple blocks from Buckingham Palace. You're a couple blocks from Westminster Abbey, as well as Big Ben, and everything like that. It's an amazing place, and it's so secluded and it's so quiet that nobody's ever there. But they have a really highly rated tea that they do there as well too, which we just walked up and did, and I didn't realize. So I take my tea, a little bit of milk, couple sugars, and I normally have my regular tea. Well, they had like a rhubarb tea that was supposed to go with when we got to the sweet part after we were done with the savory. So they bring out a second tea, we do it. I didn't realize you're not supposed to put the milk in. As soon as we put the milk in, the tea was so hot, and it's a rhbarb tea, that it curdled. So then they had to clear all the tea away, come back.
Oh, they were so pissed at you.
Pour us more tea. They're like dumb Americans, dude. But it was cool, man. We we were very blessed to be able to do everything. We didn't have rain at all. It only rained one day. That was the day we left London, and it rained one day in Copenhagen, the day we left Copenhagen. So nice. Other than that, we were linked up.
I wish I could.
Let me say this about London, and I don't know if you experience this as well too. The tube and their public transportation is absolutely impeccable and incredible. How easy it is to get around, how well thought out and planned out everything is, how it communicates with you about what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to go, the accessibility to get in and just literally tap your card and walk right in. I thought everything was spot on about that. It's just London is expensive as hell, especially right now in the pound. It's like 1.42 to 1, right? So you think you're spending for it's $1.42 for every pound, right? So when I'm going,
I thought the dollar was over the pound.
Not even close, homie. It was 1.42, I believe, when I was there. So every dinner that I have there, and things are normally priced the same as in America. You're going to a nice restaurant, a nice spot, a martini's 25 pounds, right? So you're thinking, okay, 25 pounds. Well, in reality, that shit's like $34 every single time. So it was not for the faint of heart.
Isn't the English the pound sterling?
Pound, GBP, whatever.
GBP.
I think it's 1.38, 1.42. It's been kind of fluctuating back and forth. The good thing about having travel credit cards is obviously you're not paying the foreign transaction fees, because when you are, that is even another tax on top when you're getting hit with it. But also traveling, going to airports, the lounges that you're able to get into, everything being for free. They bring you burgers and bubbles and sweets and whatever you need. And I can't, like, paying for good credit cards is one thing, and they come with a lot of benefits and stuff like that, but the accessibility to get in those lounges, and if you have an hour that you're waiting on your flight, to be able to sit there and with good Wi-Fi and good food and good drink, that shit is priceless. I will say that.
Yeah. $1 is only worth 76 cents in pounds. So yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's bro, I'm telling you, like in some of these dinners, we're having good dinners, because we've scouted this out for months and months and months. So
even though you didn't go to the place that I highly recommended, but
I did not. We went to this place at Sky Garden, which is the very like a rooftop deal, which overlooks all of London. It's gorgeous. It's on like the 35th floor, and then we had dinner on the 37th floor, 2 floors above that, at this really nice restaurant. I ended up getting into it with the sommelier. This French guy, he told me that American wines are shit, and we went back and forth for a little while, and it got a little awkward, and then he walked away, and that was about it. So there was nothing else to say except for I disagree with you. He told me that he's older than me and he knows more than me, and that's the end of the conversation. I said, okay, cool, perfect. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for your wisdom, sir.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Well, I don't know. Did you catch the stand-up comedy show last night?
I did watch the entire thing, just because, for the simple fact, everybody's like, why'd you watch the whole thing? It's like so stupid. And I'm like, you can't trust anything that you see anymore. So I wanted to watch the whole thing just to get my personal perspective on every single thing that was said, every single thing that happened, because I can't trust the clips and stuff that they cut up and send out. It's egregious. So
my takeaway was we're fucked. And Once again, neither candidate asked a question, and we are the laughing stock of the world.
Yeah, nobody answered anything the entire night. It was all just kind of subterfuge, get around everything that you could. I don't think anybody's mind was changed last night about the debates. I thought it was an incredibly poor performance from Donald Trump. I thought he looked absolutely terrible. He looked like a petulant child, which he tends to do. But you had a unique opportunity here, and you've been talking about unifying for the past few months, and you've been talking about how bad the other side was. And every single time something came out and she said something, and I'm screaming the rebuttals at my TV as I'm sitting here saying, this is what you should be saying. Why are you not responding with this? He looked so ill-prepared. The entire time we heard that the Harris campaign was going to be ill-prepared, she came in, she swept the fucking floor with him. It was terrible. If I was her, I would never do another debate again. And then a high note, and just keep it like that. But like I said, I don't know if this will actually, because I don't think we're actually voting for people here. We're voting for ideologies. And so I don't think that the people that are up there actually matter to either person that's on either side of this.
Well, I think that's the biggest problem to that point is I think that we, at least my circle agrees with the ideology of what Trump wants to do in office. But then there's a lot of people that still agree with the ideology, but don't like him and just won't vote for him because he is him, because he cannot talk like an adult, because he talks like a child, and because he insults everyone. And she turned that to her advantage. And you're right. I think she won. I didn't help that, it was 3 versus 1. The moderators were not very
yeah, but it's not an excuse. You know what you're getting into when you go into that you agreed to it. You know what I'm saying? You knew what was going to happen, right?
Which is why the Democratic Party will never do a Fox News debate or anything of that nature. Yeah. Well, again, I just to conclude, because we don't talk politics here a lot. There's a good reason for that. But, as we move forward, and I just looked at Bianca and I just said, you know what? This is just one of the most embarrassing things that I think that I'm ashamed to be a part of. Yeah, the fact that these two are our best candidates. You can see that, you had somebody that's in the office for the past 3.5 years that says that they're going to do all of these things. And finally, at the end, he said, well, why haven't you done them? I feel sorry for Americans. I feel like, if this doesn't tell you that whoever's behind the scenes running this thing, if you really think Joe Biden's our president, if you really think Kamala Harris is going to be our president, I have a bridge for you for sale. I just want to know, is it Soros? Who's the one that's actually pulling the strings here? That's all. Who are you actually voting for? And with Trump, I know I'm voting for Trump because he's such an egotistical maniac that he's not going to conform to anybody else's power. He wants it. I don't feel the same on the other one, the way that they've ushered it in. I'm with Davey Portnoy. I think the Democrats could have put a head of lettuce up there and won. The fact that they have a minority woman and with the abortion on there, I think it's done. It's over. We'll see what happens on that. But let's move on to some more controversial topics coming up here on the Uninformed Fan. If you watched the reel when I was putting out our picks this morning or Sunday, I did take. I hear something in the background. You hear that?
No.
I think I got an echo. Yeah, I do. See what happened there. I just saw How to Catch a Cheetah. Fucking the 3 times. So if you did
How to Catch a Cheetah, is that what he said?
Yeah, it's on the scroll. If you did see that my picks that came out, I did take Jacksonville with everything that happened in front of the Dolphins game. Tyreek Hill gets arrested, and of course the other players come out. Another player gets arrested as well. All hell's breaking loose.
Detained.
He was put in cuffs, he said. Yeah,
he was detained. Calais Campbell was detained for sure.
Yeah, so everybody was.
Jonu Smith was right there too, and
everybody was detained. So the gist of what happened here is a cop saw Tyreek Hill supposedly speeding, going a 60 visual clock, pulls him over, asks for his license and stuff, which I didn't see the initial. The only video that I see is the one where he already has his license. So maybe I need to watch that one as well. And Jeff can speak more to this. Hands him his ID. The cop says, why do you not have your seatbelt on? He says something in nature, I'm late. Go write up your ticket. Do what you got to do. Don't touch my window like that.
That was after he rolled it up.
Then he rolls it up. And then the cop.
After he rolled it up, that when the cop was knocking on the window, that's when it turned into.
So then he rolled it down again after the cop knocked. He said, "Don't touch my window like that."
Yeah.
And the cop said, "Why do you not have your seatbelt on," or something of that nature? And then he's like, "Just leave your window down." Tyreek Hill says no, rolls it back up. So he knocks on the window again, said, "If you don't roll the window down, I'm going to pull you out of the car." And then I don't know if he said no or whatever inside. He didn't do that. So the cop just opened the door, pulls him out. And then, of course, we see everything that happened.
A different cop comes from behind that wasn't part of the situation and rips the door open. First of all, he ripped the door open because the window was down, right? Because Tyreek had lowered the window down. So then he reaches in, pulls the door open and rips him out as Tyreek's taking his seatbelt off. Go ahead, please.
No, I mean, that just takes us to the point. And then we see then a couple of others stop and apparently are like, "What are you doing? This is Tyreek Hill. We play for the Dolphins." They tell him, "Stay away. This is something that's happened on." Of course, they don't listen because they're trying to stick up for their friends. They get put in cuffs as well. At the end of the day, everybody goes home. Tyreek Hill goes down, goes off on his game, has an amazing touchdown celebration. However, the Jags still did cover. So that is the good point there, which they should have won that game. Yeah. But here we are once again in the media talking about police actions, and we can say police actions towards minorities. However, I do believe the cops here were minorities. So it's a minority. So whether it's just an overall the police.
Are Cubans a minority in Miami? I'm not sure.
I don't know.
It's a different conversation.
I'm going to let you go off and give your side, what your thoughts are, and then I'm going to give mine, and then we'll move on.
Please. Yes. So really quickly, I just want to say, I think both cops were completely in the wrong. Cops' job is a de-escalated situation. They escalated it. Both cops need to be, I don't know about maybe losing their jobs, but I definitely think reprimanded. I think it's egregious for them to say, look, they didn't even clock Tyreek Hill and have an actual speed that he was going. They guesstimated, right? They're sitting there, they're watching it. If you've ever been down there in Miami and you've seen the rate of speed that they ride down those streets on as well, too. I get it. They're cops. They live by their own rules. However, I hate it because I know that 99% of cops are amazing human beings who sacrifice and put their life on the line every day and are really there to help the entire situation, de-escalate things, be there for people, whatever they can do to be a part of it. And to see two people like this who now to start a conversation, right? Because it happens to such an impactful person and it happens, so brightly to then shed negative light on all the other, like I said, 99% of cops who are amazing. These two guys who have Superman syndrome, I just thought it was egregious. I thought it was terrible. We've talked about it before. I don't think Tyreek Hill was in the wrong. I thought he was well within his rights to roll down his window, hand the cop his information, let the cop go run his information, and then come back and he can roll his window down and accept his stuff and then leave. At no point is he required, right? Are you supposed to listen to what the cops say? Absolutely. But when do your rights become a part of that as well, too? When do you start to feel, you talked about before about, anytime you've had an interaction with cops and so on and so forth, maybe Tyreek hasn't had great interactions with cops in his life, right? And maybe that plays into his mind as well, too, of like, let me protect myself a little bit as well. Let me roll my window up. Let me do what I'm supposed to do so I don't say anything or do anything stupid or so on and so forth. And then to come out and have, as he rolls his window down, have the cop reach in, pull him out, put his knee in his back, put his hands behind his back, cuff him, and then ragdoll him around. I just thought it was egregious. I hated it. And it sucks, like I said, for 99% of the police who are absolutely phenomenal people and amazing at what they do.
I mean, I agree with almost everything. I mean, I do believe, like you said, I do believe the cops, had Superman syndrome, whose ball's bigger, whose dick's bigger. And I do believe that was, and we're just guessing to what Tyreek's mentality is. To what your point is, what is the interactions that he's had with police? Was he feel for his life? I don't know, anything of that nature. However, the only thing that I do disagree with a little bit is I do believe some of the accountability needs to go on Tyreek, but not a lot, but some, to the point where, again, police officer safety, I don't know. And I know that you don't, you said the same thing over here as far as, the windows and the tinted and the police officer being able to see inside of a vehicle for their own safety. And to your point as well, yes, you don't have to have the window down, but when you do have a legal window tint that the officer can't see inside your car, it is a safety. So, I mean, I don't know what's going through that mind. It seemed to me from the moment that Tyreek got pulled over is he had the mentality of, probably most people that have money when they get pulled over, I don't give a fuck. Just give me the ticket so I can get on my way. Because let's be honest. Andrew Tate said it the best. If you're going to create laws that are simply fines, then it's not a law against a rich person. It's
right.
It's because they don't give a shit, right? Your point, it was $160 ticket or whatever.
I mean,
he makes that catching his first pass on the warm-ups, right? I get, the cops.
He made more than that while he was sitting there in that transaction.
Correct. Absolutely right. So with that being said, I think that, obviously his attitude could have handled just a hair better to start with. I understand the frustrations of getting pulled over. I've been pulled over. I know Jeff has been pulled over. Jeff is from the streets. So
I've been pulled over. I've been racially profiled before.
Yeah.
They were not wrong.
I just feel like, obviously, with Tyreek Hill in this situation, it was whose dick was bigger at the time. I really do feel that came across from both of them. And to your point, Jeff, a police officer does have the added expectations of being the bigger person.
Correct.
When somebody tells you, and this didn't happen, but go write my ticket, you fucking pig. Right? I mean, that's well within somebody's rights to say. Right? It's freedom of speech. Now,
sure.
As another human, I mean, you have to be pretty thick-skinned, I guess, to be a police officer, to put your life on the line, to walk up to a vehicle at any given time and know that you could lose your life at some point just by pulling somebody over. But on the same token, it's just like, damn, man, like this could have went a lot worse. It could have went worse, in my opinion. I mean, obviously, to Jeremy's point on the pre-show, at least there was no guns drawn at this one, But to simply say that, he had zero part in it, that's just where I disagree a little bit. I feel like, again, you get what you get, you put out there, regardless if you don't respect the police, which of course he came out and said he respected them. And then they all were shaking hands afterwards with all of the cops. It was just one of those situations. I feel like it was whose dick was bigger. And unfortunately, the cops acted way inappropriately, but way over the line. And they should have just ate what he was saying. But I feel like, when you deal with this type of stuff day in and day out, whether or not they do or not, as a human, sometimes your just emotions snap. Not saying it's right. He was 100% wrong. Same with the other one, that they picked him up and then they put him back down again. Just what a shit way to start the season. So now Tyreek has come out and said that he's going to, try to, work on these types of things, the communication with the other police officers, to ensure that these types of things don't happen. I don't know where you go from here. I just feel like it's one of those things where I don't feel like he was racially profiled. I could be wrong. I mean, you can't really see inside.
Profiled.
You can see inside the
time
car
of being stopped. Okay. At the time that they pulled him over, I don't think he was being racially profiled. Now, it's tough to say what an officer's mindset is as soon as that window gets rolled down and you see who's inside the car.
Well, I think
that's
you
said
a
different story, and that's a completely different issue.
And I didn't know. Like, I don't think that did he not? I don't think he knew who he was to start with.
No clue who he was. Supposedly, now supposedly, and then also, and I don't know if this is actually true. I saw a snippet where one of the cops has Bill's Mafia on his profile. Whatever. I don't know if that's actually a thing, but it would be apropos and pretty funny. Jeremy, did you want to speak on this? I saw your camera get turned on, so I know sometimes that's because you have a few thoughts that you would like to share. And we would be more than happy to give you the floor here and talk about your experience.
I would. It's people that talk about, the way cops treat people. A lot of people don't know this, but I've been pulled out of my car at gunpoint 7 times. Starting in 2003, Tyson laughed at this when I told him the story. Starting in 2003 up until about 2014, there was a double homicide and robbery warrant. It's a federal full extradition warrant from Detroit, Michigan. And the reason I always got profiled as it is because the kid has almost the identical name and our birthdays are almost identical. And Tyson had asked me, was I ever confrontational? I was a few times. The first couple times I didn't know what was going on. And in fact, to the point where I used to get lippy with the guy because some guy said, "Hey, you ever been to Mississippi?" And I said, "Well, yes, I have been to Mississippi, but the warrant is from Michigan. That's MI. Mississippi is MS. If you don't know your postal codes." And the guy kind of, didn't take that too nicely. But
right.
I've never been ripped out of my car. I've never been put on the ground. Now, the reason I bring this up is, okay, he got stopped for what? A visual speeding ticket. and got pulled out of his car like that?
Yeah.
Okay,
it was a guesstimate on how fast he was
right.
going.
I'm just making a point to this. I had every time I got pulled over, it said it was a federal warrant for double homicide and robbery. Why don't you think they would have pulled me out of the car and put me in handcuffs and detained me before they even figured out who I was? That's my point. Okay, that's. I just can't. The cops were their actions were egregious. That's my thought. Sorry.
I agree, and everybody's entitled to their own opinion. Obviously, we think I would live in the United States of America, and we can all voice our own opinions and not worry about retribution for it. Hopefully, that doesn't change coming in soon. Like you see places like Brazil and France and the UK and stuff like that, where you can't voice your opinion anymore. Hopefully, we don't ever get to that, and we're able to continue to do this. So that's the only thing I would say as well too.
Crazy shit over there in the UK, being arrested for your Facebook posts.
Wild, dude. Wild.
Brazil has Twitter block.
While we're here, also I would say we're about to move into NFL. And Jeremy, we already have you on right now. We're going to transition into the games that happen on Sunday. We could start with the Jacksonville Miami game, but since you're here already, can we go ahead and switch to the Bears so that you guys can go ahead and give your thoughts on what you saw on Sunday?
Tyson,
is that possible, Tyson?
He's talking to you.
Okay.
Well, I'm talking to you as well too. I mean, is it cool if we start with the Bears and then we'll transition back into the Florida swing?
What was week one like? Week one was the epitome of what it is to be a Bears fan. Promise, expectations, hopes, dreams. And then we saw ineptitude, the lack of blocking, poor decision making. Tyson denounced his Bears fandom prior to the end of the first half. And then I was with our good friend Ian and my roommate and Gigi. I was watching the game, and I said right before we kicked the field goal, I go, we're going to need a shutout in the second half if we're going to come close. And lo and behold, the Bears defense and the Bears special team, as they have for the last 3 decades, bailed us out, and we Will Levis gave us a victory on a golden platter by just before dropping to his knees, tossing a ball like he was Brett Favre, kind of flicking it out here, and the defense won it. And that's how it is right there.
Tyson, what'd you think? Obviously, the roller coaster of emotions, never a doubt. But
yeah, I mean, I said it on the group chat. I've seen enough, and I still have seen enough. It's the same old shit. It's the same old weak, pathetic offense. I tell you, Caleb Williams looked absolutely like fucking trash, which I don't hold that against him.
No,
simply for the fact I've said it throughout numerous times of the show. A number one pick of college coming out. I don't care who the prodigy is. Outside of C.J. Stroud, almost all of them have failed, and I do believe this is the first rookie to start week one to ever even win a game. And also not throw an interception.
I think he was the third is what I heard.
Well, so number one pick to win a game, I think in the past, as a quarterback to be the number one pick, I think he's the first quarterback to win in the past like 20 years or something like that. Like no number one quarterback has won their debut in 20 years, starting in their first start as a rookie.
Right. And he didn't win the game, and he'll tell you that. But he is a product of a team effort. And that's what we saw. And that's what we continue to see, as Jeremy alluded to, throughout the years. And when we were great, Devin Hester, Brian Urlacher, Lance Briggs, The Fridge, all of these boys, it was always defense picking up a shit offense. So, yes, we thought that, Caleb Williams is going to be the savior. He has the entire city of Chicago riding on his shoulders. I don't know if anybody's ever had more pressure in their life, because you got to think about when Trevor Lawrence was coming as the prodigy of the face of the league, he was coming to an absolutely shit team with Urban Meyer with very low expectations. Yeah. This roster that Ryan Poles has put together is Super Bowl caliber roster. So we're looking for, just like, Sonny Weaver Jr. said, we were just looking for the right man to lead them. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if Shane Waldron in this offense is the right person to lead them. However, I will tell you, like I said, Caleb looked like shit. He missed all of his down throws. Mm-hmm. The quick throws that we had were pretty abysmal. Cole Kmet was a non-factor. The run game was absolutely abysmal. The offensive line looked like it was 2 years ago.
Really bad.
I mean, I don't know what you can come out of this other than saying thank you for the defensive special teams for gifting us a win. And hopefully the Chicago Bears and Caleb Williams and the entire offense goes into that and improves. We had some rare drops by Keenan Allen, one of the most sure-handed receivers in the league for years. He dropped 2 crucial balls. Like I said, I don't know if Cole Kmet even had a target. DeAndre Swift couldn't get more than 3 yards behind that pitiful offensive line. And let's also give credit to the Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans defense is no joke. That defense is they have a good front line. They have a good secondary. However, the Chicago Bears offensive line got absolutely manhandled. Our center was on his back immediately after snapping the ball on at least 60% of the plays. It was literally a 3-on-4 every single snap. Yeah. And so when I come back to Shane Waldron is you have to be able to identify this. And if you can't identify it, the main target of the Tennessee Titans was keep Caleb Williams in the pocket. He cannot pass if he's in the pocket. So what did they do? They kept him in the pocket. So what does our offense keep doing? Let's keep designing plays to keep him in the pocket.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, this is just to me as an armchair quarterback and the uninformed fan that when I'm sitting back here looking like, change the fucking offense. How about that? Catch me outside. I don't understand it. I don't know what's going to happen. We had all of these expectations going into to this season from Hard Knocks. The offensive line was great. All of these weapons. Romo Dubes gets hurt. Whatever. I don't know if he's out for a couple weeks.
I think they said a couple, maybe 2 to 3 or something like that, but it's not going to be major. So I think that's a really good
same thing that we've been saying for years and years and years. As Jeremy just said, with Chicago Bears fans, our defense and our special teams continue to win games for us.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, as I cap this up here, if the defense and special teams can continue this and Caleb Williams in this offense can figure out how to click, and I think that they will by weeks 4 and 5, which is absolutely great. You have some of these schedules that are coming in. This week is going to be an absolute fucking shit show. I don't know what's going to happen here. My gut would be to hammer the Texans or take them in survivor pool, but I'm not going to do that because next thing I know, Caleb Williams throws for 400 yards. And, this is just one of those things I think that we've talked about numerous times over the year. I don't put a whole lot of faith in weeks 1 through 3. Maybe week 4 is when we start getting into, hey, is this team legit? I'm not panicking yet. However, to Jeremy's point, I just said I'm fucking done. You said it's only been a quarter. I said I've seen enough. And to my point, that offense never improved the entire day. As a matter of fact, I do believe this is one of the only teams in NFL history to be down 17-0 and win without scoring a touchdown.
66-1-1 on teams that had covered the spread, went up 17-0. I'm going to say this: incredibly impressive win. I think the fact that you have the ability now, and you just mentioned it. And first of all, the offense reminded me a lot of Colorado and their deficiencies and ineptitudes. Shedeur Sanders is a good quarterback. When you're able to get pressure with 3 guys and you're able to drop, however many into the secondary, there's no quarterback anywhere that's going to be able to finally place balls wherever it is. It's a really tough thing to do. And it's a really tough thing to do in your very first start in the NFL, even tenfold from that. You got to find a running game. You got to figure out something, whether it's misdirection, whether it's screen passes, whether it's delays, draws, whatever it is, you got to figure something out when it comes to that. If you want to let them get pressure up there, then boom, run a draw or a delayed handoff and kind of see what happens.
Halfback screen.
Something.
Where was all the screenplays?
Caleb is a guy who, and I think the way that the team responded to seeing him struggle, I think is something that you can take away from, is that they looked at the leader of their team and said, man, guys, it's his first start. He looks like a rookie. He looks shook. Let's go out there and fucking ball out on defense. And they did. And I think that is a really awesome thing. If I'm looking at the totality of a team, is the way that they rallied around Caleb. Did Caleb play terrible? He did. He missed open throws when he hit guys. They dropped the ball. Things can only go up from here. And you beat the Titans, who I think are going to be, we talked about this. We love what they did in the offseason. Ladarius Sneed, you still got Justin Simmons. You got a great line. You added some pieces on offense. They are going to be a decent team. And I think when we look back on this at the very end of the season, we're going to say, man, what a hell of a win. And especially if you're talking about a team total on trying to get a win for a team total that you bet a future on, that's a great thing as well, too. And I will say that, go Bears. It was fantastic. Going forward, you can't get worse on offense. You can't get worse on offense.
Nope.
There's nothing else that can happen to get worse on offense. I think if you look at some of the things that Anthony Richardson did against the Texans,
you haven't watched enough Bears football. That's all I'm saying.
There should be more optimism. because I thought Anthony Richardson, the throws that he missed, did he hit some bombs down the field that ended up changing the game? Of course, but he missed a lot of easy throws. You're assuming Caleb Williams might be able to make those. The defense, I thought, from Indy stood up a little bit to CJ Stroud as well. That last drive, Nico Collins just made an incredible catch on the sideline to kind of seal that game. But I think I would take away more hope and positivity if I was a Bears fan, as opposed to being down in the dumps personally for me.
Like I said, and Jimmy Kinchester, you just haven't watched enough Bears football. otherwise, you would be in this exact same realm.
I've watched my fair amount between the two of you for the past few years.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Go back 10 to 15.
I just want to say that.
Yeah.
Okay, but listen, I don't give a fuck about stats from 15 years ago, bro. Like to a point, if it's the same coach or the same system, okay. But like everything is so fluent and changes so much. Like, listen, I've watched it the past few years. I thought I would be optimistic if I were you.
Of course, we're optimistic. We're always what other do we have to look forward?
And I'm looking forward to. We just mentioned the Colts. 2 weeks from now, me and Jeremy are going to be in Chicago, rubbing elbows with Bears fans. Really getting the nitty gritty on the street to how they really feel about this football team. So I can't wait for that as well too.
We shall see. Well, obviously the Bears offense was quite pathetic. One offense that definitely was not pathetic was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield with the near perfect quarterback rating. Mike Evans feasting on some amazing throws by Baker Mayfield. The entire team ate on offense. It was a performance for the ages. I saw enough to put Baker Mayfield for a long shot at MVP. I continue as I think I got plus 7,600. And when you have the top rated quarterback who is in his second year at Tampa Bay, that has his contract, is comfortable, has his pieces signed with him, he looks really comfortable in this offense. He looks really sharp. There's no reason. I know that, we've talked about the disrespect of the team total from there. We'll see what happens again. They looked really good this week. We'll see what happens, moving forward. Let's see by week 4 if his odds aren't a little bit less. I think that they should be. But I'll tell you this, if you're out there, Hard Rock, I do believe it was plus 7,600 for Baker Mayfield for MVP. And I think that is 100% worth the flyer from what I saw week 1 out of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, I might tell you on that. It's interesting because I was very high on the Bucs coming into this year. And I thought it'd be more our defense is going to be really good. Man, I tell you what, Jaden Daniels, he has a potential to he reminded me so much of Lamar when I was watching the game, because it's just he's able to just be slippery, get outside the pocket and pick up 8 to 10 yards and get out of bounds every single time. And his speed really, really kills. I thought from the Bucs perspective, we lost some guys in the secondary. I think they're opening up. They're like 7-point underdogs next week against the Lions, which I think will be a very interesting game. I think when you look at it too, playing the Lions in week 2, this is going to be the third time we play the Lions in like the past 7 games, something like that, because we played them at the end of the season in Tampa, lost that game, played them in the playoffs in the round 2, and then now we're getting them week 2 as well. So just very interesting. Can a team beat another team 3 times in a row, 3 times in 7 weeks, especially when the Bucs were so close last year? Maybe a little bit of revenge on their mind as well, too, going into this game. 7 points seems about right, I would say, for where the two teams are at right now. But listen, I think if you're optimistic, if you have futures on the Bucs in terms of if you have something like a division ticket or an over ticket or anything like that, sky's the limit. Or if you're like me and loaded up on Buccaneers players in fantasy football as well too, I think you're very optimistic about what the future holds for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as well.
I think you should be. However, I will say this: the New Orleans Saints looked really, really good. That defense, obviously, they're going against the Panthers. So let's all take a pause there. We're not going to crown them. They're playing against the Panthers, who we all expect to make a little bit of a leap this year, that literally did nothing. The defense, obviously, giving up Brian Burns is feeling it. They gave up 47 points to New Orleans at home, only put up 10 points. To your point, you got to be feeling good about the Bucs' chances in the divisions.
Yeah.
However, I'll tell you, if the New Orleans Saints can replicate like 50% of what we saw, that they're going to be a tough team to deal with in the NFC South.
I think it was a really good week 1. I thought the way that the tone was set, it seemed like we talk about quicksand all the time. in terms of on a football field, right? When stuff starts going wrong, boom, they hit a big play to Rashid Shaheed to start the game. Boom. First pass that Bryce Young throws, picked off. Okay, well now you're boom, 14-0, right? You kind of try to get through there. It's all of a sudden it's 30-0, and you just looked up at the scoreboard. It's the second quarter, and you're like, what just happened? And the game's already over. The Panthers, listen, I thought the Panthers would show up. I liked what they've done in the offseason to add some guys. That was definitely my worst take of the week. But I do take solace in the fact that I think it was one of the most bet circuit games, I want to say, was the did you have that list? Did you send the list, or did somebody else send the list of
I didn't send it.
The circa spreads? I thought somebody sent it. And I thought I saw on there that it was one of the most bet was the +3.5 by a lot of the sharps. So
I would have to agree with that, just simply for the fact that the expectations of the New Orleans Saints were pretty low going into this year. And, the expectations of the Panthers were already low. So I felt like they were already on that level. I think a lot of people thought that it was going to be a battle of two bad teams, right?
Yeah.
And rightfully so. The Saints just came out, and to your point, they had a quick lead right off the bat, and they just continued to feast on it. So, yeah, I don't think that you're going to see that type of same performance out of the New Orleans Saints moving forward. But, again, after week 4, we'll see what we really have.
And this week will be let's find out a lot about the Saints this week. Buff said Cowboys beat the Saints. I 100% agree with Buff. I will continue to have my same opinion and fade New Orleans. I think that just seems like a spot where the Cowboys are just going to eat, And listen, if you're the Panthers, better days have to be ahead.
That's what they thought last year.
That was tough.
Well, sticking in the same division, one team that we had, or at least I had very high expectations for, the Atlanta Falcons come out and just look absolute garbage. Now, this was also to be expected. You had Kirk Cousins coming off of his injury, who didn't practice at all during preseason, didn't play in the preseason's game. This is going to be your first game up to speed. And if you talk to anybody that has one of these injuries, it's one of those things where you have to get on the field. You have to actually make a couple moves before you actually trust your Achilles to be fully healed on that. He looked absolutely terrible. I do believe let's see, I'm bringing it up right now. 2 interceptions, 155 yards, 16 for 26, absolutely abysmal. And you get beat by Justin Fields and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, as Jeff likes to say, Kyle Pitts, I guess, was one of the bright ones on there in a very dismal week in tight ends. I think that was combined, Mike said, and all of our starting tight ends in our fantasy league combined for 15 points.
50 something points, I thought. Was it 50 something points?
I don't know.
Thought he said? I don't know.
It was just a very, very poor performance from the Atlanta Falcons. And more solely, I was talking about the all 12 tight ends, 59.3, which is a 4.94 average.
Yeah. And I do want to expound on that. Buff just said TJ Watt was everywhere.
He was everywhere.
He was in the backfield constantly. Now, listen, almost every single decent team in the NFL has a really good edge, and an edge that's able to get to the quarterback all the time. My problem with Kirk Cousins is that he didn't move more than 2 or 3 steps off of his spot. I think goes back to what I was saying as far as when you come back from that Achilles.
For sure. Mentally, you have to get a couple of those reps in before, okay, I really can move without snapping my Achilles again.
We're talking about a guy like Rodgers always had a certain mobility to him where he would roll, he had the so eloquent when he does it, when he does one of those spin moves and rolls out of the pocket. I'm sure you've seen it a million times as a Bears fan. Spin moves and rolls out of the pocket and gets to the line and picks up 7, 8, 9 yards. Kirk Cousins has never been that guy in his career. And so I think it's a little bit different going from what, and we obviously saw Rodgers and what that was on Monday night, but this has been my entire issue with Kirk Cousins is that I don't know if that fit is exactly what they were looking for. They could have just drafted Michael Penix, and still been okay. I think Penix still has a very live arm. I think he's still a little bit more mobile. And I think their best chance this year might be if Kirk Cousins gets hurt.
Well, again, he's really on a 2-year contract, right? So at the end of the day, yes, but I think he's got $100 million guaranteed.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, at the end of the day, it's a 2-year contract if you want to do it. And if you want to move on, then you move on and you just keep him as the backup. Whether he stays or not, I don't know. But very disappointing. I did see a lot of good plays, though, coming out of Drake London. Bijan Robinson absolutely feasting. I mean, it's very apparent that this offense is going to go through Bijan Robinson. So if you did draft Bijan Robinson, go ahead. What?
I'm just trying to look up how many carries he had real quick, if I may.
He had 18 carries, 68 yards for 3.5, 5 targets. He also had 5 receptions, 43 yards. Did not get a touchdown. For those of you that are on the group chat, my $2 into 1.5 million was immediately knocked out by Bijan Robinson not having an anytime touchdown. And if you looked at the workload that came here, you're like, wait, what? Yes.
Can I just say this too? Is there a better fit for the Pittsburgh Steelers than Justin Fields right now?
No.
Like, literally just line up, run RPOs over and over and over again, wear on teams, rely on your defense, don't turn the ball over, let him run for 7 or 8 yards, let Najee pound into guys. Pause.
He looked,
but I mean, I like that is the formula that mediocre Mike will use to get to 9 and 8. You know,
and which is why Justin is going to get the starting job next week. And I thought he did enough. I thought he played.
They already announced him.
Yeah, he had some great throws to Pickens down the sidelines. I mean, this is what we saw as Bears fans, right? And, you know, there's a lot of people out there, they're like, oh, you know, especially the Justin Fields lovers that didn't want him to get traded, that continued to fight the trade. Or, you know, Caleb Williams, you know, oh, shit, well, look what Justin Fields did versus what Caleb Williams did. What would Justin Fields have done with the exact same? We're not going to play that game anymore. All we're concerned about Bears fans now is he going to get more than 51% of the snaps so we can get the 4th round pick? That's all we care about. I do want to see him succeed. I thought he was a great kid. I thought he handled himself good. It just didn't work out in Chicago. I want him to succeed. Not because I have stock in his materials. I just wanted to see him succeed. He was a good kid. He handled everything with great poise. I think that he is the future in Pittsburgh. And to your point, they have a bad offensive line. They need an extremely mobile quarterback. I don't think that that's Russell Wilson anymore. And they need somebody to be able to hit the throws down the field every once in a while. Boom, they got it. Otherwise, to your point, he just peels out and runs. I think he's going to do good things over there. And I think that's how, to your point, the Steelers are going to remain competitive. And if you look at the division right now, that division, the Steelers are 1-0 and everybody else is 0-1. So I think that that's going good. So let's get into one of the biggest upsets of the week. The New England Patriots going to Cincinnati, 16-10. Now, I did see a lot of chatter online. I know Jeff had this pick plus 8.5. A lot of chatter online about the Patriots actually coming in and being able to win this game.
For sure.
I didn't give it any thought to look at it. As a matter of fact, one of my survivor pools, I did take the Bengals. Unfortunately, the other ones I took Seattle and New Orleans because but again, I didn't really know the rules. This is what a Bianca's like $25 one, so it's not a big one.
Okay.
But the fact that they came in, and I tell you, T. Higgins didn't play. Right. That was a big nut shot to my team. I had to start DeAndre Hopkins, who only played like 15 snaps apparently. Which
did he play? I didn't even know he played for the Titans.
He played like 15 snaps. You know, it was a very piss poor day for me. My team still did really well. Unfortunately, I went up against the highest scoring team in fantasy once again. Shout out to Joe. Go get your shine box. I thought that the New England, I didn't really watch this game, to be perfectly honest, but I did see a lot of highlights. I saw the guy from Cincinnati fumble it on the 1-yard line. Obviously, that was a huge play. No T. Higgins. You had no Jamar Chase throughout the entire season. Not that Jamar and Joe needed all of this time to reconnect. They were pretty much joined at the hip. But I think you saw what you saw. I've said it numerous times. I'll keep saying it again. Weeks 1 through 4 are the preseason. This is where the players actually get their NFL reps to get it dialed in by week 5. The Bengals looked absolute dog shit. And the fact that you let them put up 16 points on you, I mean, this is an abysmal. This over under for, I mean, if you have a New England Patriots over 4.5, you got to be absolutely ecstatic that they came out of week 1 with a win. Yeah. Shout out to you and your pick on that one.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. It was an interesting week of, you know, whatever. We go, I guess, 1-2, but 2-2 if you count the bonus pick with the under on the Falcons and the Steelers, which I think both those teams are going to be very underable the rest of the year, just like these Patriots will be as well too. I mentioned in the breakdown of why I like the Patriots. Burrow always starts off slow. The Bengals always start off slow. Historically, the first 3 or 4 weeks, it is just it's mind-numbing how bad they are, and it's just the way it goes. I also worry about the fact of the Chase Brown, Zach Moss. Like, where are we actually going with the running game right now? Somebody has to emerge there. They need a lead workhorse. Now, you take away T. Higgins, you have Jamar Chase, who's only going to play a handful of snaps. I will say this: if you want to buy low on Bengals players, I don't mind buying low on Jamar Chase. The only thing that I don't like is I did see Joe Burrow on the sidelines multiple times doing this with his wrist, and he had a really bad wrist injury, and this is kind of where everything where everything's come from. And he was gingerly grabbing a Gatorade on the sideline, which looked really bad as well too. A couple different shots of that. Those are the things that do concern me. And as somebody who said I do still have a future of the Eagles and the Bengals in the Super Bowl this year, I'm a little worried. I'm a little concerned. Now, I'm a little bit less concerned watching a guy like Deshaun Watson play football, right? Or seeing how that division is going to actually play out. It concerns me a little bit less because I do think they'll figure it out and they'll get through it. And once he gets back T. Higgins, and once he gets back Jamar Chase, and once they solidify everything after week 3 or 4, I think they'll be absolutely fine. If I would buy low in fantasy right now, if I was
100% not worried about the Cincinnati Bengals. That is definitely a team that I am not worried about moving forward. One of the teams that we did have a question about moving forward was the Buffalo Bills, who had Arizona come in. We thought that this Arizona was going to take a leap forward this year. This offense does look good. However, their defense, Buffalo puts up 34 points on them. It turned into a shootout. It was a great game to watch. It was a great game if you had fantasy stats, especially if you had Josh Allen, which I thought was quite amazing that during our big fantasy draft that Jeffrey Schneider picked Josh Allen as his starting quarterback after all the shit that this man talks about Josh Allen. To see him draft Josh Allen, and I do believe it was pretty early in the draft. I got a nice chuckle out of that one. So
5th round, 4th round, something like that. Listen, and you're 100% correct to say that. I think when I look at it, though, I've been critical about Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills in terms of as a football team. And I still think that this is a sign of what happened in week 1 of the concerns that I do have about the Buffalo Bills, right? I don't really have that much concern about Josh Allen fantasy-wise, because they're going to continue to be losing. They're going to continue to be throwing the ball. He's going to continue to be stealing rushing touchdowns on the goal line from James Cook. And at the end of the day, like, okay, whatever.
That meme you said was awesome.
Yeah, James Cook, like, hey, Josh, we're in the red zone. Think I can get the ball now? It's just Josh Allen barreling through a window. I do think that there is a certain. This week will be interesting. I will say that so tomorrow night we do have Dolphins and Buffalo Bills. I love the Dolphins. I love the Dolphins in the spot. It's actually in Miami.
It is? I thought it was in Buffalo.
No, it's in Miami. I love the Dolphins in this spot. Love the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins coming off of that sleepwalk that they had, and obviously the Bills coming back from the deficit that they were in, looking at that. Josh Allen did tweak his hand on that touchdown run, so it was something that we were monitoring. I was trying to look today to see if I was going to need to pick up a quarterback just to be safe in case he doesn't play. There are things that are still up in the air. I think right now, because we don't know, line is still at 2.5 right now. Miami tomorrow. I love that. Like, give me Miami tomorrow all day long. I'm going to continue to fade Buffalo. Listen, they covered. Good for them. But if anybody watched that game, they know that the Cardinals gave them all that they wanted. And listen, eventually Josh settled down and it was okay. But I still have major concerns about the Buffalo Bills.
Oh, that is a couple concerns that obviously Marcus is putting out back here. Mostart's out, and actually it's a game time decision. I mean, but again, I think that a lot of their offense comes through the air anyway.
In Miami's run game, it's like, who cares? Like, who's getting the ball is cool, right? But now you're talking about, you have Jeff Wilson Jr. Let's say both of them miss, right? You got Jeff Wilson Jr., and then who's the rookie kid that they have as well too? Is it Wright? That they have that balled out. Buff, you probably know the kid that balled out in preseason that looked absolutely fantastic, that Mike McDaniel was talking up, who's really good as well too. So I don't care who's running the ball for Miami. It's one of the reasons I don't want to say I never do, but for the most part, who Jalen Wright, that's who it is, Jalen Wright. I don't know who's going to be getting the ball in Miami, but I know somebody's going to be scoring rushing touchdowns because their offense is going to move the ball.
Good point. I don't share your sentiment as far as I think that the Miami Dolphins are definitely a better rounded team. I think it's going to be close. I think at 2.5, you're better off just laying a little bit more juice and probably taking the money line. I don't know what the money line is.
That's fine too. Yeah, I think Miami wins.
I definitely see this could be a very close game. One of the great games that we did see on Sunday was the Houston Texans going into Indianapolis Colts, as Jeff already mentioned. C.J. Stroud versus Anthony Richardson, who is pretty much still, what is this, is like his 5th game. I mean, he's still trying to get through one complete season. As I said during the preseason, the athletic ability that Anthony Richardson have to me is just mind-boggling. To watch him throw these lasers that come out seemingly at the snap of a finger, that perfect spirals, that looks like he's shooting a missile out of his arms,
incredible,
to the point where sometimes it's hitting the receiver too hard. I mean, it is. It's just I've seen it go straight through the receiver's hands. To watch the throw that I sent out on the group chat, I do believe it was in the first or second quarter. He was rolling to his left. There was 2 guys in his face, and he throws this dime down to Alec Pierce. 70 yards down the field? It looked like he just flicked his wrist. Holy moly!
Off his back foot. No momentum going forward.
If they can dial his IQ knowledge in of reading the field and getting through his progressions, he could be one of the most talented quarterbacks to ever play the game. And I don't say that lightly. I know what I'm comparing him to. I'm telling you, this kid has more raw talent than anybody I've ever seen at this stage. Yes, more than C.J. Stroud, more than Trevor Lawrence. He has the intangibles. Now, C.J. Stroud has his intangibles honed better. He is the better quarterback. But if the Indianapolis Colts can get Anthony Richardson dialed in, and we get Josh Downs back, some of the other injuries that they've had over there, with this defense, I mean, okay, so yeah, the Texans did put up 29 points, but that Texans offense is brutal. There's a lot of weapons there. That's why, to your point, going to the Chicago game is going to be very, very interesting. Is that defense going to be able to really lock down a top tier offense versus a struggling Tennessee? You're not going to get those silly mistakes. Looking at just the stat lines, obviously C.J. Stroud does what he does. 234, 2 touchdowns. He was sacked 4 times, and then Anthony Richardson a little bit less on his side. What a game, though. I think if you're a Colts fan, you got to be thinking good. I mean, I wouldn't put too much expectations on this kid yet. He is definitely a project. We said this in the draft, that Anthony Richardson is a project. You have to like what you see coming out of this project, though, so far.
Yep. So a few different thoughts, and I'll just kind of reiterate what Buff just typed in right here, because I do own.
He does miss a lot of throws.
But I have A.D. Mitchell in a few leagues, and obviously you look at the stat line, you're like, oh, man, it's terrible. Then you watch the game film, and you're like, dude, like there was like 3 plays where A.D. Mitchell could have scored touchdowns. It didn't happen. And then you have the amazing plays that AR makes through his feet, through these incredible throws that he makes as well, rolling out, keeping plays alive. But then you have him miss a wide open wide receiver in the end zone, and the very next play throws a pick on the 4-yard line. So this is only his 18th start, I believe, as a starting quarterback.
I don't think even that. Last year was his rookie year. I think he was out like week 5.
No. I mean, like through college and NFL.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
yeah. So you're talking about a very small sample size. I agree with you. The sky is the limit for the kid. I want him to stay healthy, first and foremost. I want him to not take huge hits. There's a few plays that have me worried. We'll see. Listen, ride it as long as you possibly can, Colts fans. Ride it as long as you possibly can. You have an incredible talent. You got to keep him upright. You got to keep him healthy. You have a great O-line. Keep on giving the ball to Jonathan Taylor. Let him mix everything else in. Please, as a fantasy owner of Jonathan Taylor, fantasy governor, of Jonathan Taylor.
What a day for Joe Mixon, huh? 159 yards.
Yeah. So
guess who was playing against him?
Yeah, a really good value. I want to see what Joe does this week against that Bears defense. It will be fun because we're all going to be able to watch it on Sunday night together as a family. So it will be the premiered night game of the Texans and the Bears. Do you know what the line is right now on that?
I would have to think 6. I was going to say 7. It's 6. I tell you, I am a little bit nervous about this in the defense in regards to the run game. Because if you did look at the Tennessee Titans, especially during the first half, they absolutely gashed that defensive line. It seemed like they were just running the ball. I don't know if that was because they were playing soft because of the passing defense. I don't know. But there was a quarter or two where the Bears let the Titans run over them on offense. So that does concern me a little bit more than the secondary. The secondary seems like they've got their stuff dialed in pretty well. Tyreek Stevenson did have a couple missed plays, but come back and made sure that they got it going. I'm just trying to look at the stats real quick here. Tony Pollard did have 16 rushes, 82 yards for an average of 5.1. And then that was my point in watching the game as I looked to Bianca, and I'm looking at this game with the Tennessee Titans and the Bears, and I'm like, okay, most of these rush yards came in the first half. It was like the second half, they just completely abandoned the run game and left it in Will Levis's hands to continue to just flip balls into the defense. But that's another story. I am worried about that. Great rushing attack. I think that this Houston Texans team is just completely stacked. The offensive line, defensive secondary, wide receivers. I mean, there was a big question of Stephon Diggs. Was he going to be able to what?
No. I'm fine. I do worry about their secondary a little bit. Okuda just got hurt. He's out for the year. Put him on IR. I think there's some questions there. But you're right. I mean, their defensive line, Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, on paper, they should be fantastic.
One of the games I did have pick was the Seattle Seahawks at home against the Denver Broncos -6. I was absolutely disgusted that they absolutely just let the Denver Broncos go down and score because they didn't give a shit because they were up by 13 points to push this game. I was yelling at the TV. I was pissed. I should have been started off 2-0 outside on my official picks. The other picks I actually did really. I'm actually 4-0-1, but I will take my official record as 1-0-1 because the Seattle Seahawks decided just to let Bo Nix, who I thought looked really good in his debut with the Denver Broncos. I think that that's going to be a sneaky team that's going to get some sneaky wins this year. Definitely a team that could cover. So that'll be something I'm looking at. The Seattle Seahawks offense didn't really impress me. There wasn't really much to impress me about this game. I did take them in Survivor, and the reason why I took them in Survivor is because I'm trying to get rid of the shit teams. So therefore, I took the Seattle Seahawks in two of my entries, and I took the New Orleans Saints in two of them as well because I do have buybacks available in those leagues. So I was trying to get that out. Nothing impressed me about this game other than Bo Nix looked pretty good, which we expected that coming out of the preseason. And you know what? The Seahawks, screw you. You need to cover. Pete Carroll would have covered.
I think Seattle's O-line is garbage, and I think having a quarterback I think Geno Smith had the longest rush of his career in that game. Just like
it was like a 60-yard touchdown run.
No.
I thought it was, wasn't it?
60. No, it was like a 20-yard or something like that.
Oh, I thought it was more.
Nah.
He had, I don't know. It says 4 for 30, so it's probably a 30-yarder because the other ones are probably sacks.
It was something like that. Their offensive line is going to be terrible this year, so I would bet accordingly. Listen, Tyler Lockett still is the man. Tyler Lockett can still make plays on third down. Jackson Smith-Njigba, who is supposed to be really good, haven't really seen much from him, and DK Metcalf gets locked up by Surtain. Moving forward, I'm still going to continue to fade Seattle this year. I'm not a believer.
Definitely not. I just thought that this was a great opportunity at home, 12th man, beginning of the year, Bo Nix, rookie, and they had him, dude. And it's just, this is the frustrations that you get when you start betting, especially at NFL, and you bet these higher spreads. This is what you're going to have. You're going to have a team that's up by 13 with 6 minutes to go that does not give a shit if they give up a score or not. That's just the NFL. It's just the way it's going to be. It's something that you're always going to see on some of these 6, 7, 10, 13 spreads, which is usually why we don't really get near those unless we really think it's going to be a blowout. Seattle had this. They just let it go. One of the closer games that was on the spread that didn't end up being a closer game was the Las Vegas Raiders going to the Chargers. Jim Harbaugh's debut, 22-10. The Las Vegas Raiders look abysmal. I think that's just all I'm going to abysmal. I do believe the Gardner Minshew, Devontae Adams, and what's the number 2 receiver over there? I had him last year. Why can't I remember his name?
Jacoby Myers.
I do believe that those guys are going to get the connection together. But the biggest question I'm going to have is how much time can that offensive line give them? man, Raiders fans just in shambles.
So, did you watch this game at all?
On the secondary. No, actually, I don't. I think I had this on Red Zone. Sorry.
Herbert wasn't great. Listen, if it's not for your boy J.K. Dobbins going 10 for 135 and breaking off like 2 super long runs, this game's a little bit different. If it's also not for Antonio Pierce completely botching the way that this game played out, it plays out a lot differently as well, too. This is one of my picks. I did like the 3 here, or 3.5, whatever it was, for the simple fact that I thought Minshew would play okay, and I thought he did play okay. He had 2 really bad turnovers, which is going to happen. Gardner Minshew does things sometimes. He throws a pick, they run it back. He also has the thing at the end of the half where he's trying to stop from throwing the ball, ends up fumbling it, they recover it and run it back and get a field goal off of that. Antonio Pierce completely botches the entire game. Was going for it in his own territory to start the game. At the end of the game, there's 7 minutes left. They're down by 6 points. You have a 4th and 1 on your opponent's 42-yard line. He elected to punt,
right?
He elected to punt the ball.
Yeah.
And like those little things are what really, really like eat at you, because
those are the ones that make you think the NFL scripted,
dude. And it's just like, bro, like it's 4th and 1. What are you doing? You don't have an analytics guy to tell you stop, go for it on 4th and 1. Like this is simple stuff. I think I believe I saw this stat. It's the first time that a team has been trailing in the 4th quarter with that much time left, losing in the game, and didn't go for it on 4th and 1 since 2016. This hasn't happened in 8 years where a coach decided to make that decision to punt the ball back to your opponent. J.K. Dobbins breaks off the 70-yarder. C'est la vie, the game is over. This was a tough one for me because I felt like I was on the right side the entire game. And then at the very end, it just slips away from you. And you're like, what happened? You know, like what happened?
Well, obviously, like I said, I didn't watch the game, but looking over the stat line, this is what I expected out of a Jim Harbaugh offense.
Oh, it's run. 27 rushes, 26 passes. I mean, that's
absolutely
that's what it is. You know.
And last but not certain, actually, let's get into our good friend Marcus Buffington and the Dallas Cowboys. Dak signs his contract minutes before the kickoff, which is something that they were actually alluding to on some of the pregame shows. Whatever. Glad that they got it done. He is now the highest paid quarterback. Jerry Jones always gets it done. You know, I just feel like Jerry Jones has just the need for the theatrics. And, you know, not for nothing, it did keep the Dallas Cowboys in the headlines and talking about it day in and day out for weeks upon weeks. End up getting it done. The Cowboys go out there and absolutely ball against a good Browns defense. I mean, possibly one of the top 5 defenses. I think the biggest takeaway from this game, at least for me, was how bad Deshaun Watson was. And I will say this again. I've said it numerous times. You're going to hear me say it again. As bad as he was, I still don't hold it with a grain of salt. The guy has not played in a year and a half. I don't know how long.
He played last year.
For how many games?
7 or 8 until he got hurt.
Okay, so whatever. So yeah, it's been probably about a year. So I don't think that it's necessarily something that like he's just lost all of his abilities. However, this is going to take some work to dig out. I mean, 17 points coming from this offense, which we thought had some great potential. Ford was a great emergence last year after the injury. Deshaun Watson, again, 24 for 45. Njoku, I mean, Jerry Jeudy was barely involved. Amari Cooper, I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, this is growing pains. This is growing pains to me.
I think Njoku is going to be out for a little while. I'm not sure if it's indefinitely or if it's for the year or what, but Njoku will be out. Deshaun Watson's terrible. I heard this take on Pardon My Take. Shout out to Barstool. Pardon My Take's hilarious with Big Cat. And and a touchdown in garbage time from Ford. I think there was like 21 seconds where they scored that last touchdown as well too. But the take on Pardon My Take was they said, has Deshaun Watson now flipped the script on all of us? Is he now a better person than he is an NFL quarterback? You know, because before it was
you need to get him in the massage parlors, bro.
It was. I don't know if you saw this. There's also another lawsuit that just came out that was just filed against Deshaun Watson for an incident in 2020 when he was with the Texans, and it basically accuses him of rape.
I mean,
like strictly raped the girl. She ran away. He got upset, pissed off, yada, yada, yada. Like I read the entire context of it. there is a situation where the Browns think that they might be able to get out of this contract because of that. So, you know.
It
Jameis Winston time
me.
in Cleveland? I'll tell you this: if they put Jameis Winston in there, I'll be all over the Cleveland Browns, right? Because that is.
I don't think they're there yet. I think that you might see that as it plays out again.
We'll see what happens after this week.
I'm not surprised. I mean, how can you be surprised at this point when there's been over 30 lawsuits, but none have gone to court? All have been settled. I don't know if this is, again, I'm not saying that this incident didn't happen at all, but when all of these things were coming out and being piled on, why was this person not coming out during that time? Maybe she didn't want it to get buried in the middle of everything else. I don't know. Again, I'm not putting anything saying it was he did or he didn't or she did, but it's just weird. That's all. 4 years later, after everything that's came out, to come out and do that now. And to your point, Jeffrey, this could be definitely a way for the Cleveland Browns to get out of this contract, which is arguably, as most people as consensus, the worst contract in NFL history.
Well, the argument was made on part of my take as well, too. Is it the worst contract ever?
Yeah, NFL history, yeah.
No. The worst contract ever in the history of contracts.
Of any sports? Yeah.
No. No sports. The worst contract ever.
Okay.
Like what's worse, the Louisiana Purchase or the Deshaun Watson contract?
That's a good analogy. I like that.
Pretty
one of the better games that we did have is the LA Rams going into the Detroit Lions. As we get into wrapping this up, the LA Rams showed up. They showed up. I thought that they had definitely had an opportunity to win this game. Unfortunately for me, the Detroit Lions did end up winning in overtime, which the overtime drive from the Detroit Lions was absolutely amazing. They just completely ran it down the Rams' throat. And that was one of the biggest things that we talked about as far as the Rams this year losing Aaron Donald, that front line. Would they be able to hold things down? When it came down to it at the end of the game, they did not. The Detroit Lions win 26-20. I feel pretty good about the Bears' chances in the NFC North. Jordan Love goes down, which we didn't talk about, but Jordan Love goes down. He's going to go down for 3 to 4 weeks. But again, those 3 to 4 weeks, there's no division games during that time for any of the NFC North. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. I don't think the Lions, and Jeff, I think you said this. I just don't think the Lions are going to be as potent or as strong as they were last year. But again, I'm not making any decisions until week 4 or 5.
There's definite ineptitude and inefficiencies on the Lions team. One of them that I thought that they were going to have was going to be wide receiver 2. Jameson Williams stepped up in a big way. Amaron with a terrible game as well, too. I think he caught 3 balls. Puka Nacua gets hurt. Looks like he's going to be out indefinitely for a little while as well with an MCL injury. It was tough for fantasy owners out there in those fantasy streets for that night game. But I will say this, Stafford looks great. And if you have Cooper Kupp and you're able to get him, kudos to you. I think he was 30-1 to lead the league in receiving before the year started. I think after week 1, he is now 10-1. So that should tell you everything that the betting market thinks about what's going on there.
Absolutely. And to finish it up, we did have the New York Jets and Aaron Rodgers return to San Francisco. I did like the Jets here +4. I was more disappointed in the Jets defense than I was the Jets offense. I think that we saw a lot of the same things that we saw with Zach Wilson, the offensive line. And to your point, what you talked about, the Aaron Rodgers rollout, he did not look as mobile as he used to be in this time. He was having a lot of struggles getting away from the offense or from the defensive line. Garrett Wilson is going to be a superstar. Alan Lazard had a few drops, but still had a great game. I think this just
2 tutties.
I think that if you walk away the Jets fans, right? Okay, it was 19-32. It feels like a rout. I think you have to come out of this feeling pretty damn good. One, you got Aaron Rodgers through a game.
Yeah.
I was counting the snaps. I'm like, oh shit, he's already doubled the snaps. And I will say this: now that Aaron Rodgers is out of Green Bay, I can start to appreciate the beauty that is Aaron Rodgers and some of the throws that he made. Oh my gosh. I mean, that guy is fucking amazing.
Yeah, incredible.
He is probably one of the best quarterbacks that we've ever seen in the NFL. And he made some just amazing throws. I think, again, as this team gets together, you saw the very first touchdown, you saw the excitement, you saw Robert Saleh, And I like I said, I think that the New York Jets offense while it didn't win and put up, points to win, I think that I'm more disappointed in that Jets defense. You had no Christian McCaffrey. You let a rookie, I think he's a rookie, right?
No, Jordan Mason's been there a couple of years.
You let a second string guy completely run all over you.
Like a 7th round pick, I think. So
yeah, so somebody that's not Christian McCaffrey, right? You took away their best weapon. Now again, we all know the San Francisco 49ers have probably the most stacked roster, both sides of the ball in the NFL. However, you took away the number one weapon, and his replacement didn't beat you the same way Christian McCaffrey beat you through his legs and the air and everything else in between. He just straight ran down your throat. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the biggest issue. Obviously, Sauce Gardner got hurt there for a while. He was out for like a quarter, I believe. He came back.
They said it was because of rest. He was fatigued.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw him. He was doing something with the shoulder. Regardless, I'm not going to assume anything. But, during that run,
the most overrated defensive back in the entire NFL, in my opinion.
Well, I will say this. So when he was out, the 49ers just went down the field. They just went straight down the field.
They scored 8 times in a row. I don't think it mattered whether he was on the field or not on the field. It was pick your poison. How do you want it? How do you want us to give it to you? Shanahan continues to be an amazing zone blocking wizard. No matter who's back there in the backfield, you got to have confidence in him. I think if you have Ayuk, you're very hopeful about what's going to happen. I think Ayuk will end up being fine. If somebody wants to panic and you want to buy low, go buy low on Brandon Ayuk right now. McCaffrey thing is going to get muddy. I feel like I saw Achilles tendonitis day to day. I don't know what that means, but I don't think anything with tendonitis and Achilles sounds good together. And I just think this backfield is going to be messy the entire year. They're playing to win a Super Bowl. They're not playing to win your fantasy championship in week 8 or 9 when you need a win. And
which is why you might not see him till week 4 or 5.
It's just gonna be muddy. And then like when you see him, are you gonna see all of him, or are you gonna see bits and pieces of him as they try to ease him back in? I think that would be my question as to how this offense performs going forward. Purdy looked great. I think the Jets have a serious issue with their pass rush. Purdy's just sitting back there. Now, listen, Trent Williams is one of the best left tackles ever.
He throws a beautiful ball.
It's just the anticipation throws, everything I thought was fantastic.
To watch Brock Purdy go out there and just completely cool under pressure, you never see his emotions go up or down.
Yeah.
He just delivers the ball. And, when you look at somebody like Dak Prescott and, these guys that, are getting their contract, is this Brock Purdy's last year? Is this his 4th year? 3rd year?
I believe he's going to be a free agent coming up next year. So
no way.
Unless they pick up his 5th year option, which I don't know what that would be.
They would have had to have done that already.
Franchise tag him? I'm not really sure. I did want to point out on the Jaguars and Dolphins game, I don't think we touched on it, but I did want to say this. The Jags should have won that game. Etienne fumbles the ball on the 2-yard line going in. They had like a 97% chance to win. After Etienne fumbled the ball, they only threw the ball one other time with Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence in the first half looked unbelievable, throwing dots all over the field. Anticipatory throws to Brian Thomas Jr. were fantastic. I think that kid's a stud in the making. Gabe Davis looked good on the long balls as well. Christian Kirk, a little bit of a concern there, and no Evan Ingram whatsoever. But only throw the ball one time after that. And like some of the things that just went on, I don't know what Doug Peterson is doing. I don't know how that played out. The way that went, it turned into an onslaught the other way. It was tough.
So this is Brock Purdy's year 3. Which is pretty amazing considering year 1, he went to the NFC Championship. Year 2, he went to the Super Bowl.
He was trying to get a contract this offseason.
Well, it looks to me like from what just the little rumors are, they are working on it. And then more than likely it'll be done by the end of the year. And he will be the highest paid player.
Where's the money coming from?
Well, I mean, as you always say,
paid tackle, the highest paid running back, the highest paid
but next year they won't be, as you say, as the years continue, the cap continues to grow.
Just cap's not a real thing. Anyway.
It is apparently for every other team.
All
right. Yeah, so it's definitely looking at probably by the end of the year, and he'll get that contract done. So I'll tell you, week 1, what a great week. If you were in fantasy, I mean, it seemed to be in fantasy this week. It was feast or famine. There wasn't a whole lot of, little guys going through there. Lamar Jackson comes up and puts 39 points up for the first game. I'm like, just put it in cruise control. Like I have like a 60% chance of win. Halfway through the day, I have a 20% chance of winning. Bijan Robinson doesn't touch it. Alvin Kamara, they blow it away. He doesn't produce. Devontae Adams doesn't produce. DeAndre Hopkins only has one catch. To your point, Evan Ingram was a complete dud, as were most tight ends. The tight end position was outside of Isaiah Likely was just a complete flop. You had Kyle Pitts that had the one touchdown there. Deontay Johnson, the number one, obviously in Carolina, has 2 receptions when you're down by a bazillion points. And then you had Devin Singletary from the New York Giants that, puts up 37 yards of rushing. Pretty frustrating week across the board for fantasy owners, unless you had some of the big boys. And obviously there were some big boys that went through and had an amazing, amazing week. I did not have any of them besides Lamar Jackson, but you did have some good with Saquon Barkley going off, Cooper Kupp going off. I'm just looking at my opponent because he apparently had everyone. But yeah, rough week for fantasy. But again, keep the course. It's only week 1, gentlemen. It's only week 1. Some people play for the first 5 weeks. Some people play for the last 5 weeks, as a wise man once told me.
All right. Anything else you got? I do want to wish, listen, obviously today's being September 11th, it's a somber day in American history. And, a lot of people woke up thinking that their lives were going to be a lot different, back, 23 years ago. So I just enjoy every moment. Tell people that you love them.
Absolutely. Great point. And, to put it out there again, I'll tell you, this morning when I got up, and obviously I knew it was September 11th from the previous night before, one of the first things I did is I got on Facebook. And I went through my feed, and I didn't see anything. I immediately posted the same thing I post every 9/11 to never forget. Mm-hmm. And regardless of what you think, how this was involved, how 9/11 went down, as Jeff said, there was innocent people, thousands of them, that lost their life on this day that deserve to be remembered. Let's not forget, guys. I mean, we said that, back then, 2001, September 12th, 2001, the entire world, mostly America, the entire in America, you couldn't go anywhere without seeing an American flag.
Yeah, everybody was united.
Now we have people that are offended by seeing the American flag and being taken down. Where the hell did we go in 23 years? Regardless, again, what you thought happened, inside job, whatever, we banded together for the first time in my lifetime. That was an amazing time to be an American. It's sad to see the 23 years, and we all said that we'd never forget. 2001, 2002, 2003, you couldn't open up Facebook, Instagram, anything without being flooded with never forget. Well, we've done a disservice to the people that died that day, and we have forgotten. So to Jeff's point, let's close it up. Let's remember the victims of 9/11. Let's remember the strides that we have made as far as equality and worldwide peace in those times, and let's get back to that notion of we are all one American. We are all one American people. We are all one human in the world. Let's put that energy where it belongs, and let's move to a better place instead of what we see day in and day out.
Amen.
Amen. With that being said, you guys have a great. We'll be back Friday at 11 o'clock. Break down the Thursday. Jeff does like the Dolphins. I'm going to stay away.
Bouncing in the city where the heat is on all night on the beach to the break of dawn. Welcome to Miami.
That's right. I know it. If you're driving off these past days, please, for the love of God, stay out of the left-hand lane. Please, please, please. You guys are killing me every day. I drive somewhere. It's the most stressful time of my day is that if I have to get on the road. Please stay out of the left-hand lane. Until then, we'll see you Friday. Everyone, have a great day. Thanks for joining us. Good luck and stack those fantasy lineups.